Hello, everyone, and welcome back to yet another Fridays with Mrs. Ginny. I am your host, Mrs. Ginny. And friends, we are just going to try and see what happens tonight, okay? So, this is live. No, this is not a pre record. I am coming to you live and in color from Mrs. Ginny's studio, okay? And as you can see, my background is a little bit different. So, something that's been going on behind the scenes since we last spoke is that my studio has been completely overrun and turned into a nursery, as you can imagine. And so I'm now shooting in my kitchen. We're going to see how that works. We're going to see how it works to have a baby with me while I'm trying to live stream. Okay, so he's right here with me. He's content right now, but we'll see how long that lasts. And so we're going to see how long the stream can go before I need to be called away. And so, yeah, it's February. It's the most wonderful time of year, folks. We get to kick in the backs of the Black community, and hopefully we see some progress. Because it's all fun and games to criticize and to talk about all the bad things. But if we're not willing to actually talk about how we can make things better and be the change that we want to see, then we're all just sitting around gossiping, and that's a sin. So we're going to talk about problems and solutions tonight. And so many great things have been going on today. I got someone saved today. Yes, friends. Just this afternoon, I went to a park with a lady to have a little play date with my son and her daughter, and I got her saved. And so that was terrific. The first soul that I won in 2025. And so just more onward and upward in soul winning. And I also got an email from someone totally out of the blue. I don't even know who this is, but he just emailed me and was like, "Do you want to do a debate with a Roman Catholic?" Oh my goodness. I feel like I just won the lottery. So, friends, good stuff coming down the pike, okay? However, we got to do it. We're going to get it done. And we're just going to keep moving on the Mrs. Ginny train, okay? And so, yes, friends, such a warm welcome. I'm so glad to see you guys here. Hello, Jason. Yes, Mrs. Ginny is back. Lionel, great to have you. Thank you so much for being here. Lead, always a pleasure to see you. And I'm sure that Beak is right around the corner. I'm sure he's probably just finishing up with work right now. And that'll be, pretty much our main folks. All right. So as you can see, right now I'm already being demanded of. But we're gonna roll right with it, folks. We are gonna push through and we're gonna see how it goes. Hey, I already got everything lined up and my points listed. And so I can just go right into it. And so tonight, talking about will Black culture be the death of the Black community? And so I was thinking about this and I was like, I'm pretty sure I've seen someone on like Black Men on Filter's channel. Shout out to Black Men on Filter too. I plan on going back there at some point, but I don't know how that's going to go. So we're just getting our feet wet back over here, but I do plan on going back over there at some point. But I'm pretty sure I saw someone talk about a subject similar over there, if I'm not mistaken. And so I'm not trying to steal anybody's thunder, but I mean, this is a great topic. And so, multiple people can talk on it and get all different things from it. And so in regards to Black culture being the death of the Black community, what do we really mean? Okay. And so there's many different aspects of the Black community. And I'm one person that will say like, there really isn't even a Black community because we're all so different, like we're not a monolith, it's not like Japan or something, like where people over there, like they're pretty similar, like they all have like shared values and stuff. Over here, we kind of used to be that way, back when America was more united. But as things have gone on in our modern age, I wouldn't even say that the Black community is really even united and has like a shared values and beliefs and morals. But when I say the Black community, I just mean like the majority of Black people, mainstream Black people, just you can throw a stone and find a Black person who meets at least one of these criteria or one of these, metrics. Okay. That's what I'm saying. Okay. So it's important to define terms. And so that's the Black community that I'm talking about. I know it doesn't apply to everybody and it doesn't even apply to me. So I understand that I'm not speaking for an entire group of people, but it is way more of us than it needs to be. It's this huge problem. We lead in a lot of different metrics and statistics, and most of them are bad, okay? And so to act like, everybody has, because every group has their problems, because like I was talking to my mom about this earlier, every group has their problems. But Black people really have some serious holes, and we got to work on them. And so in Black culture are just things that, we're kind of known for, like stereotypes or things that are popular and mainstream. Just like this past week, I think it was, Don Julio did a collab with Popeyes. Now that's a stereotype. That is something that, they're not trying to appeal to Black people like me and lead when it comes to Don Julio doing a collab with Popeyes. Okay. They're trying to appeal to the mass of Black culture. And they're trying to say like, oh, this is what you guys like, right? Niggas like, alcohol. So come over here and drink our liquor and eat our chicken. So that's what we're talking about. And the fact that something like that would even go on proves that we're seriously up a creek, folks. And so let's jump right into the first thing that we have on today's docket, which is home life. Okay. And so there's a saying that, how does it go? I think it says like charity is supposed to begin at home. I don't remember where I heard that from, but yeah. And so we're going to start at home. And in regards to home life with the Black community, needs a lot of work. Okay. And so we lead when it comes to divorce. Okay. Here we lead at 12%, as just our one group, 12% of us get divorced, which honestly surprised me. Okay. When I was looking up these statistics and I went on blackdemographics.com. So that's where I did I'd probably say about a third, if not up to half of this research. So I'm not picking it from like, the Ku Klux Klan website, just trying to be down on Black people. These are self-reported numbers, okay? And so don't shoot the messenger. So yes, we lead in divorce at 12%. We lead in domestic violence. Goes on to later say that Black women experience intimate partner violence at a rate 35% higher than white women, and Black men experience intimate partner violence at a rate of 62% higher than white men. And that really blew me away, because this is something that you would never hear about. I've never heard of Black men getting abused, or, Black men, being victimized by their girlfriend or their wife, but then again, these numbers are anonymous. And so a man, especially a man that wants to be seen as, tough, like, of course, Black men want to be seen as tough. Why would you admit that to your friends and then, have them make fun of you and not take you seriously? And yes, EAE, we are live. This is in real time. I'm coming to you exactly at what time is it? 8:12 p.m. Eastern Standard. Okay. And then Lead, he says that happens all the time. Sad, really, really sad. I knew the thing about the Black women, because of course there's stereotypes and people make jokes about that. Not so much when it comes to Black women, but I find it a lot when it comes to white women. Like I see like memes online of like white women when they go after Black men. It's like, this phrase was like, once you go Black, you never go back. And it's like a white woman with a black eye. And so it's like a stereotype that Black men like to beat up on white women, which I don't know anything about that. That's not what we're talking about tonight. But I definitely have heard that, Black women, they do have a higher rate of domestic violence. And these numbers are when it comes to couples that are Black, not just one party. So that's also another thing too. It goes on to say that Black women are more likely to experience severe domestic violence if they live with their partner. And so I found this one interesting because it says a partner, and that's a whole other thing. Like I hate that term partner. I never use it. I work too hard to become a spouse. I'm not someone's partner. Okay. We're not a law firm. We're not police officers. But anyways, that's besides the point. But it says partner. And so that's, obviously including dating people, not just married people. And so I find it very interesting that Black women have a higher rate of experiencing severe domestic violence from a man that they're not even married to. So it's like after the first time he even thinks about putting his hands on you, why would you stay? I find stuff like that very strange. Like people who stay, after cheating or abuse or, what have you, like just crazy stuff going on in their relationship. And it's like, you have no legal binding to this person. I mean, maybe they have a kid together, that's another thing we're going to talk about in the stream, is these bastard children, but I'm getting ahead of myself. But you have no legal ties to this person. Why do you feel the need to stay and be beat up on. I don't understand. It makes no sense to me. But that's another thing. It says here that, the severe domestic violence from a partner that they live with. And then it also says that I also wrote down that we are the leaders in unwed parents at 63%. So 63% of all Black children born in America are born to unwed parents or single parents. And that is probably one of the most damaging statistics out of all, because when you have a kid that's brought up into a single parent home or a fatherless home, because a lot of those, of course, are not just like, oh, the mom is gone, but it's that the dad is gone, which is much more damaging than if the mom were gone. And so when you have so many of our children being brought up in this environment, and it's growing, like I don't know exactly when these numbers were compiled, because I saw something last year that said it's up to 70%. So I don't know. The numbers might be a little behind. But yes, somewhere between 63 to 70% of all young Black children are being brought up in single parent homes. And how could we ever think that we're going to thrive and highly achieve as a group when we have such abysmal numbers in such an important area? Especially now. Like, I mean, I've known about a lot of these numbers for a while. Numbers that we'll go into later. I've known about some of these, and I've known about the single parent thing, for as long as I can remember. Because I grew up in a single parent home. I was raised by my dad. But especially now that I'm a parent, and my husband and I are raising our son together. I mean, to think that our son could have a fighting chance at a great of a height of amount of life that he could have, with a single parent or just me by myself, because that's usually how it is, single mom. To think that I could be able to give him the standard of living that I would want for him to have by myself is asinine. And so, we as a Black community, we need to care about our children enough to want to give them a fighting chance at success. And of course, there are people that overcome, but we shouldn't always want to have to overcome. Like, why do we handicap our kids right out of the gate and then expect them to just leap over mountains and do the impossible? Why don't we just stay married, or why don't we just stay together, get married before we have these kids and then stay together. And then we don't have to have our kids trying to defy the odds and beat the odds when they can just, have a regular, normal upbringing like, other kids. And, let's just be explicit, like white kids get to have. And their numbers are climbing up, unfortunately, on single parent households as well. I guess I should say like Asian kids, because Asian people are doing it right. And their single parent household numbers are like in the single digits. So let's try to give more Black kids a fighting chance like Asian kids get to have. Because I don't know about you, but I've never met an Asian kid who grew up in a single parent household, but that's just anecdotal. He says that this might be my first stream unrelated to the Bible. I mean, we're going to pull it all back there. I mean, that's really the crux of everything that I do. So we might talk about some issue. I mean, remember a stream I did about aliens? So we even managed to bring aliens back to the Bible. So it's all going to come back to that. Don't worry. But yes. And so moving on from unwed parents. So a natural migration from that. So being that so many of our children are born into these single parent households, so many of them get aborted. Okay. And so we lead in abortions when it comes to America. Now, it's hard to actually find solid numbers on this because states like California and New York don't give reportings on their abortions. Like they're not required to number how many they have in a year or whatever. And so the numbers that you hear, about abortions, those are actually always low estimates. Okay. Those aren't even fully accurate numbers. Okay. As scary as that is. And so when it comes to abortions, Black women, they have about 5 times more than white women. So, we can't really get a solid number, but it's about 5 times more, which is scary. Which is why, someone like me who is adamantly pro-life, extremely pro-life, a single issue voter, so much so that I am pro-life. I've always known that the BLM movement was a complete joke, because it stood for abortion. And you can't say that Black Lives Matter if you're not going to defend and stand for the most vulnerable Black lives, which are unborn Black lives. And so that is like the main thing as far as I'm concerned. Well, not the main thing, but that is definitely one of the main things. I mean, all of these are very important, but there's levels to it. And so, when it comes to abortion, I mean, really, I take it back. It is the most important thing, because you're never going to have someone to be domestically abused. You're never going to have someone to divorce. You're never going to have someone to raise a child if everybody gets aborted. I saw this post one time, because I follow a lot of like pro-life pages on Instagram. I think it was Students for Life. And they had a post, and it was like some woman who's like a professional skateboarder. She said that, oh, feminists told me that thanks to feminism, I can skateboard, when in reality, I can skateboard because I wasn't aborted. And I thought that was such a great, such a great clapback to say, because yeah, feminism didn't give me any rights. Feminism didn't win me any privileges. The pro-life movement awarded me privileges, because I would have nothing if I were aborted. It doesn't matter how many glass ceilings you break if you don't even let people have a chance to experience the right that they have to live. So yes, lead, major thing. And so that's definitely the number one thing. That's why I'm a single issue voter at the end of the day. And we're going to talk more about abortion come April, because that'll be the Virginia March for Life. That's on April 2nd. So we're going to talk about that, of course. But yeah, when it comes to anything, abortion has to be the number one issue, because we don't have anything if we don't have life. But I digress. That's not what we're talking about this evening. And so moving straight from that, that is a perfect segue into our next topic. So that was home life. These are some home life statistics about Black people that need to be worked on. But the next one is the glorification of violence that is so prevalent, and just this lingering thing in our communities and in our neighborhoods. And here I pulled up, it says that Black people had higher rates of murder than white people in the United States. In 2023, 9,284 people were murdered who were Black, versus 7,289 who were white, and 586 who were other race. In 2022, the homicide rate for Black victims was 29% per 100,000. So basically, per 100,000 people, 29 of them were Black people that were murdered, compared to just 4.2% per 100,000 of white victims. So that's a humongous leap. And so I didn't pull this number up, but so basically, not only, being a Black person, do I have a higher chance of being murdered just in general, but I have a much higher chance of being murdered by someone of my own race, someone in my community, one of my people, one of my brothers or sisters. That's a higher chance of that too. And I mean, that's pretty much for anybody. You have a much higher chance of being murdered by someone in your own people group, because you have a much higher chance of being murdered by someone that you know. So there's that. But, just this, we're supposed to be together. We're supposed to have each other's backs, and we're supposed to stand as a group. Don't give me this baloney about we need to stand together when there's numbers like this. When you still have, I don't know, the quick math, like a 6 times higher rate of being murdered from someone in your own people group than an outsider, especially when we have such, farces like, the, hands up, don't shoot movement that, tries to pretend like Black people are just being mowed down in the streets by white police officers. It's just not true, folks. It's just a myth. It's a myth. It's a hoax is what it is. It's not true at all. And so, yeah, still to this day, Black people have a higher chance of being killed by other Black people and not police officers of any race. And so some examples of media that do glorify violence, I list, and this is just stuff off the top of my head. This is not even, even close to all of it. Is I have shows like The Wire, BMF, and I didn't even know that there were this many of the 50 Cent shows, but apparently there's like 4 of them now. There's Power, Ghost, Force, and Raising Kanan. I mean, good night. How many of these shows can this one man put together? Um, and there's this new show, I think it's on Hulu. It's called Godfather of Harlem, which is very similar to the movie American Gangster. So apparently, Godfather of Harlem is like the like a pre-story, like a what is it, like a prequel, talking about this drug dealer who was in Harlem, and of course it's very violent. And American Gangster is about the guy who succeeded the guy from Godfather of Harlem. So those two are very popular things. Superfly, I remember, so Superfly is actually a remake from a movie from the 70s. So a long time in our community has this been a problem. But the movie Superfly, they did a remake of that maybe like, oh gosh, maybe like 8 years ago. It was a while ago, I remember. And I remember I went to the movies to go see another movie. It's a movie called Adrift. It's a movie about a woman who gets lost at sea for like a month. Pretty good movie, in my opinion. Anyways, I was leaving the movie theater and I see my friend's mom and her brother, they're walking into the movie theater. And I was like, oh, hey guys. And they were like, hey, Virginia, like, what are you doing here? And I was like, oh, I just saw this movie. It was really good. And they were like, oh, do you want to come see the movie with us? You will pay for your ticket. I was like, sure, I got all the time in the world. We go and see this movie, Superfly. I had never even heard of it. I didn't know what I was walking myself into, but I was like, surely they're not about to send me into something crazy. Well, I was so disappointed. Okay. So long story short, half of the cast gets murdered in shootouts and there's all this drug. And there's literally a scene. Y'all, I have not been the Christian that I am today, always. Okay. There's definitely been seasons of my life where I was backsliding, but I was in that movie and there was a scene where he's like in the shower with two women and I literally had to close my eyes. I was like, oh my gosh, can't watch it. I mean, I was clutching my pearls, y'all. I was like, I am a child of God. I can't look at this. I was like, this is smut. I was like, I've never used that word before. I was like, this is smut. I cannot watch this. How dare you come and bring me to this movie? We all leave the movie after it's all said and done. And my friend's mom, she looked at my friend's brother and she was like, why did you want us to come see this movie? That was a terrible movie. I wish I had never seen it. And the brother, he was like, well, this is my third time watching it. Oh my gosh. To get out of here. So there's that. Anyway, so that was a terrible movie. I could not recommend it any less. So that's Superfly. This show called The Shy and a show called Snowfall. And so these are all just different shows, very popular in the Black community, shows with primarily Black casts that all glorify violence. And people just eat up a fork and spoon, okay? I know at least, which one is it? I think The Shy has 6 seasons, so, hey, they're just pumping out these shows just, again and again, season after season. Now, let me share my screen because I can't talk about the Black community and a glorification of violence without talking about the seemingly endless number of rappers that have been gunned down, primarily by other Black people, but a lot of these are Black people that have been murdered. Now, I don't know nearly even half of these people on this list, so I don't know, so I can't speak for all of them because I'm sure some of them aren't Black. Like, I'm pretty sure this is probably Danny Rodriguez guy. He's probably Hispanic, just going out on a limb. But other than these that names aren't so giving, I can't say for them. So I'm not gonna, speak on what I don't know. But of course, a lot of us are familiar with a lot of these names on this list. Let me make this a little bit bigger too, so everybody can see this. Even though I'm gonna say it, so you'll still see it. You'll still know what I'm talking about. But yes, and so everyone's familiar with Tupac Shakur. And honestly, the fact that, this is a side note, I always thought it was so hilarious, the fact that Tupac Shakur wasn't his stage name. When I found that out, I was like, that was his real name? Like, the fact that Tupac Shakur and Kanye West are not stage names, that just always tickles me so much. But anyways, back to the list. So there's him. There's, of course, Biggie Smalls, Notorious B.I.G. People I was thinking of are, where are they here? I mean, just look at this list. I mean, I have to scroll so far. Okay. coming up to when I kind of picked up back on the scene of when I was getting familiar with these people. XXXTentacion. Okay, for the older viewers, this was a guy who was really popular. Like when I got out of high school, he had a few hits. His career was pretty short lived, as you can see here. He was only 20 years old. But yeah, so he was killed in 2018. So his career was like 2 years. Yeah, he was like gunned down in a car dealership. I mean, craziness. So there's that. Another person that I'm familiar with is, my gosh, Nipsey Hussle. I'm sure a lot of you guys are probably familiar with him. I had never actually even heard of him until he was killed. But one of my brothers, he liked him a lot. He actually got a shirt with his name on it. But yeah, there's him. Pop Smoke, another guy that had a pretty short-lived career. I was listening to him not right out of high school because he died in 2020, but a couple years out of high school. King Von. This is someone that apparently people like the fact that he's dead. I don't know anything about this guy. I never listened to him, but I've seen a lot of things about him online, and apparently he was a pretty bad guy. So people say, go to riddance. I don't know anything about that. Just stating the facts. Young Dolph. That was pretty. No, it must be somebody else. Because he died in 2021. I only know a few of these people. But he's here. He had a couple hits. There's one in particular that I'm looking for. Oh, there's PNB Rock. Almost forgot about him. That was really sad because he was gunned down in a chicken and waffles joint. So he was there. Allegedly, his girlfriend set him up. A lot of these people say that they were set up by their girlfriend. I don't know anything about that. So there was that one, and there we go. That's what I'm looking for. Oh wow, I didn't realize they were that close together. Okay, so PNB Rock was killed September 12th of 2022, and Takeoff was killed November 1st of 2022. I had no idea they were like that close together. Wow. So yeah, Takeoff, he's probably one of the most popular people on this list. I would probably say I guess it depends on your age group. If you're an older viewer, then you'd probably be like, who is that? But if you're like my age, I'm 26. If you're around my age, you probably know who Takeoff was because he was one of the members of one of the most popular hip hop groups that were out. They've, since disbanded. Even before he died, they disbanded because there was too much drama going on and people couldn't, stay to their own women. But anyways, I digress. There he is. There you are, Beak. Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate you being here. And hello, Distant Light. Good to have you. Not Lionel being a hater. No, it was trash. How dare you speak on me, Amigos in vain? They were not. They were trash because their music glorified violence. Okay, going back to what we're talking about, and they, glorified a lot of ungodly things. Okay, so I guess they were trash. But speaking from a purely musical standpoint, I'm surprised that you would say that. But maybe you're coming from a spiritual standpoint, which is good. So I can't disagree with you, Lionel. But yes, we're talking about Migos. So we're talking about right now the glorification of violence in Black culture, and I'm highlighting it because so many Black rappers have been killed by other Black people. If it's even been just found who killed them, because a lot of them are still unsolved. But you can most likely deduce that it was by someone else Black. And so these are all people, and not another factor of it is that not only are these Black men that were killed by other Black men, but these are people that had music and put out entertainment into the world that glorified violence. There's no shortage of songs from Migos talking about, oh, he looked at me crazy, so now I'm gonna have to off him. Oh, I have to up the pole on him, all this other stuff. And then look what happened to him. And even though his death was probably an accident from what I saw, it's still, the same thing. Glorifying violence, shootings, aggression, all this stuff. And then, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. And so the Bible says that for a reason. Hello, Jay Rillo. Thank you so much for tuning in. Appreciate you always. I love the fact that I'm getting such a warm welcome back. Feels good. But yeah, so there's that. There's that for that point. Yeah, so just a glorification of violence, a need to always try to prove that, we're tough and we're big and bad and all this stuff. And then look where it leads a lot of us. It's sad that we have a group, a community that thinks that this is great. And one thing I want to point out that I heard one time from Candace Owens, actually, she likes to criticize the Black community too, because it's due. But she said something that I just have to disagree with, which is that the Black community is the only community that glorifies violence. And that is just objectively not true. And I thought about that, and at first I agreed with her, but then I realized that that's just really not true, because of, think about shows like The Sopranos or movies like Godfathers. The Italian mobster mafia aesthetic has been very much glorified and made infamous. And so they're white people. I don't understand these different breakdowns. Like, Jewish people aren't considered white. Italian people aren't considered white for some reason. They're white people as far as I'm concerned. But so that's another group that glorifies violence very much so. I would say just as much as Black people glorify violence in our community. So she was wrong in that aspect. Black people, we're not the only ones that do it, but we're definitely a group that does it heavily. So I definitely wouldn't like cross some, Italian guy. I wouldn't try to wrong some Italian guy, because who knows. Everyone knows that aesthetic, that stereotype of Italian mobsters, being violent. So I just wanted to add that. So it's not about just beating up on Black people, okay? We're just trying to highlight facts about our community to try to work through it and be better. Okay, so there's that. Had to just throw y'all a bone right there. But now we're back on jumping on you guys. Okay, so our next point is ignorance, okay? Just generally speaking, I'm going to do a TikTok about this. I've been meaning to make a video about this. So follow me on TikTok if you're not, because I'm posting up there again. And I made a few videos like 2 weeks ago, and I'm meaning to make some more. But a video that I'm going to do probably next week, maybe if I don't do it by the end of this week, we'll see how it goes, is the fact that we're living in a time where a lot of people are ignorant, okay? If it seems like you're looking around and a lot of people are stupid, it's not by accident. It's by design. Aww. It's a feature, not a bug, okay? They want us to be that way. They want us to be... And see, this is why single-parent households cannot thrive, because one party has to do everything. So shout out to my husband. But anyways, and so, yes, friend, if it seems like a lot of people today are ignorant, then it's a feature, not a bug. They want us to be that way. And one time, CT, Chaotic Truth, he was talking about this. So shout out to CT. And he was like, what did he say? He said, like, does it seem like, I was talking about the King James Bible, and he was saying how, I can't understand the King James Bible. It's too difficult. It's too archaic. And I'm like, it's not too archaic. We actually still speak the same type of English that the King James Bible was written in. It's written in modern English, and we speak modern English. It's not contemporary English, but it's modern English. And so you can understand it. And I was like, they don't want you to be able to understand it, because at the end of the day, everything comes down to a spiritual battle. Okay. And so, yeah, the elites, they want us to be dumb, so that way, we can just be worker bees, and they can just tell us to do anything, and that we're too ignorant to know to stand up for ourselves and for our rights. But it's much deeper than it. It comes down to the fact that if you can't read, which a large number of people, outside of the Black community, just a large number of people in America, are illiterate or functionally illiterate, then if you can hardly even read the pages, on your workbook in your class, how are you going to be able to read the King James Bible, which is the only valid English translation of the Bible? But that's for a whole nother discussion. Why do people say that? It does not, y'all. I've been gone too long. Okay, I'm gonna do another stream about how to get acclimated and get acquainted with your King James Bible. But anyways, it is not Shakespearean English. Where is Abraham when I need him? Oh my goodness, y'all. It's okay though. I'm gonna help you guys get your feet wet, get acclimated, get acquainted with the King James Bible. Because William Tyndale, the guy who really kind of got the ball started on the King James Bible, he said, and I quote, well, maybe not quote, but he said that, he is going to make it so that even the ignorant plowboy would be able to understand and read God's word, to defy the Pope and the Catholic Church at that time. William Tyndale, God rest his soul. And so it's not the exact way that we talk right now, but it's close enough. But like I'm saying, they want us to be ignorant, so they want us to not be able to read the King James Bible, but you have to defy them. But anyways, going back to Black people specifically, according to what I found, it said that according to available data, African Americans are disproportionately represented in the lowest literacy levels in the United States, meaning that they are often cited as the race with the highest rate of illiteracy when compared to other racial groups. However, and then they start prefacing it like, wait, we're not racist. It says like, oh, there's reasons for that. There's reasons why Black people are dumb, because, societal, economic standards and all this stuff. Baloney, folks. Bodie Bauckham, he's a pastor. I think he's a Calvinist. He reads the ESV, but I don't know. I don't know all about his doctrine. I used to watch him a lot. I haven't watched him lately. But he's a pretty good pastor from what I saw. Don't quote me on that. But he was raised by a single mother, and she was a Buddhist. And so he grew up poor, didn't have a whole lot. But now, he's a very well-spoken man. He's a public speaker. He's a pastor. And he's written, wonderful books. And he's just a very educated man. And did he let poverty stop him from being educated? Did he let poverty stop him from learning how to read at a high level? No. And so a good example, let me pull this up. I meant to have this up, but I didn't. So let me go ahead and see if I can get this. Hold on. Stand by, because I want you guys to see this, because this is absolute abysmal. Okay, I can't see it right now. It's not showing up how it did on my phone. But basically, so we're all familiar with LeBron James, okay, famous Black man. He started a school in Akron, Ohio called I Promise. And the school was like, it boasted, having the most money, it boasted having the best technology. It was like, we're gonna give these kids everything that they need. They got into the school based off of a lottery system. And it was for the lowest 30% of the kids in Akron, Ohio. So they figured that, these kids are poor, and so we're going to give them this advanced school, and they're going to be able to thrive. And so that is why he started the school. But turns out that poverty and just throwing money at a problem is actually not how you solve a problem, because pretty much all the kids at the school are failing on the basic metrics that they need. They're not reading at proficiency levels. They're not doing math at proficiency levels. It's just you don't fix problems by just throwing money at them. So that's a perfect example of weaponized incompetence. Because you think that LeBron James couldn't afford teachers who actually know what they're doing, or programs or curriculums that are proven to be effective? Of course he could. But it's not about that. it's about, teaching these kids, that they're victims, or teaching them about DEI, teaching them about transgenderism, or whatever kind of junk they're being fueled, because I'm sure this school is left leaning, okay? And they're not focusing on reading, writing, and arithmetic, and the kids are still suffering, because it doesn't matter how much money you put into a problem if, you're not actually getting to the root of it, which is another thing, is that we have a culture that does not value education. Okay, so these kids, they're probably, still in an environment that does not promote or celebrate education. Just because you take a kid out of their school and put them in a new school, that doesn't change their home life. And these problems are systemic, not, from the outside system, from the inside system. And so if you go home to a family that doesn't care about education, that's not going to go back and, help you with your homework and, help you with reading and all this different stuff, then it's going to fall on deaf ears at the end of the day. Lionel says that over 55% of students in general are not up to standard. Yeah, they're not. But once again, Black people are leading the pack in that statistic of, not meeting up to standards. So it's unfortunate. Yes, exactly. Teachers are rarely the problem. It's the parents. Yeah, teachers can only do so much. A lot of parents think that school is daycare. They think that it's supposed to just be for just you drop your kid off. But it's not supposed to be that way. And so these parents, they need to be held accountable for the fact that their kids are failing. Distant Light says that, that we don't care the way that Asians do. Yeah, another thing is that, I don't know, whenever Asian or Pacific Islander Heritage Month, Pride Month, I think that's in like July or something. We can talk about them and what they're doing and how we as the Black community can adopt what they're doing and try to improve our community. But yeah, definitely culture. Yeah, the parents, because the parents aren't going to the school. The parents, they're like, okay, well, whatever. Okay, and then and I have some stats about test scores. When it comes to LeBron James' school, it says that no eighth grader at the school has passed the state's math test since 2019. State test scores in English and science are very poor, and that Black students at I Promise are in the bottom 5% of all Black students in Ohio. So the kids that go to his school, his super advanced, technologically, sufficient school, those kids, they're still ranking in the bottom 5% of all the Black kids in Ohio. I saw somewhere that they even ranked lower than the special needs kids. And so like these kids, I mean, it's almost a parody of itself at this point, how poorly his school is operating. And how timely that I'm doing this stream, because I saw this clip and I just could not believe that it was real. So you guys feast your eyes on this. This clip that I just saw today. Let me know if you guys can hear this. Oh, hold on. Hold on, let me play it back. So you guys gotta see this. Hold on, let me share my tab. There we go. I'm sure some of you probably already seen this.
Let me be 1,001% clear. Traveling to the Eagles game today is essential travel. If you are driving, just go slow, but get there. If you are catching SEPTA and mass transit, just get on mass transit and get there. But making it to our Philadelphia Eagles game on today is essential. Thank you all so very much, and we now want to take some. Questions. Any? Well, listen, we've got to do this. Let me hear you all say ELGS Eagles. Let's go, Birds.
yeah, friends. Yeah, Eagles, Elges. So yeah, and that was the mayor of Philadelphia. Okay. Um, and so if she can't spell it right, then God help these kids. Okay, so hopefully, you guys saw that clip of the mayor couldn't even spell the Eagles right. It's not the fact that it's the name of the team; it's the fact that just Eagles. It's just the name of the national bird. But okay, anyways, and so moving right along, um, a part of ignorance goes on to poor financial literacy. And so, the Black community, this one wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. So there's that. Yeah. This one's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. So when it comes to consumer debt, now you have to measure things per capita. And so per capita means like, per number of people. And because of course, Black people, there's not an even amount of them to white people in America. White people still vastly outnumber us. And so when you're looking at statistics, it's important to do per capita or by percentages. But even when you look at percentages, white people, they hold more consumer debt in America. So there's that. But when it comes to unsecured debt, it said here that Blacks and Hispanic households tend to have a higher proportion of unsecured debt, like credit cards, compared to white households. So white people, they have more consumer debt, or they have more debt in general, things like student loans or mortgages. But unsecured, that's where Blacks and Hispanics, it seemed to be about even, like equal. And then I looked up things in regard to the lottery, because oftentimes, playing the lottery will put you in debt. And then if you're playing the lottery, then you're just not making wise financial decisions. And it said here, this is from Black Demographics. It says that with regard to lottery play for respondents of various racial/ethnic groups, non-Hispanic whites and Native Americans had the highest proportion of gambling on the lottery at 51% for each group. But it said, however, with regard to mean levels of gambling on the lottery, Blacks and Native Americans had the highest averages. So this is based off of the last year. So I think this is from 2024. So the year of 2023, it said that Blacks and Native Americans played about 20 to 25 days per year. And so that's on the higher end, apparently, which seemed pretty low, honestly, but that's still on the higher end. And so, yes. And so there's that. And so that was a pretty quick point, because we aren't doing quite as poorly in that area, which is good. So there's that. But yes. And then my last issue, before we get to our solutions, is just political corruption. I feel like Black women took an absolute shellacking last year when it came to politics. I mean, it was everywhere you turned, there was a Black woman that was absolutely fumbling in her political position, whether it be Tiffany Henyard, the woman on the thumbnail, whether it be that was this year, Karen Bass, starting off the year right with a Black woman making a fool of herself. That's the mayor of Los Angeles, who's just watching her city burn down as she's, just hanging out in Kenya, going to a wedding. But speaking of last year, there was Tiffany Henyard, there, Lori Lightfoot, there was, gosh, I can't think of her name, but a few years ago, Jamal Bowman, he's the bozo that pulled that fire alarm during like a House committee hearing. To what avail? What did you think was going to happen? I don't know to this day. Like I said, Lori Lightfoot, Maxine Waters, and then who could forget the Black woman, Kamala Harris, okay, who took the beat down of the year for all political people, Black included. But yeah, and so it seems like wherever, especially Black women, that seems like wherever there's a Black woman in power, watch out, okay. But yeah, it seems like, because Black people, like I said, a lot of us still think that we're a monolith. They still think that we're a group and that we see each other's, we're gonna work together because we're a team. And so when Black people, when they vote, when they go for offices and they try to be in political power, they take advantage of us, and then we just kind of go along with it because it's like, oh well, they wouldn't do anything to hurt us, they're with us. And it's like, to this day, can Black people name anything that Barack Obama did for us? Was he looking out for us? You know, no, he wasn't. He was looking out for himself. He was looking out for Israel. He was looking out for the queers. He was looking out for pretty much everybody but us, his people. And, he's mixed. So once again, a fake Black person. So say with that what you will. But anyways, so yeah, friend, too often we get sucked into this mindset of, oh, they're going to be working for us. They're going to be looking out for our best interests. When in reality, they're just taking advantage of us to use us and enrich themselves and leave us in the dust. And so there's that for political corruption. Of course, there's political corruption in every shade, but oftentimes, more often than not, if it's a Black person, then you can pretty much guarantee that they're going to try to swindle somebody, especially if it's a Black woman. Hate to say it, but that's just the way it is. I'm just here reporting on the facts, okay? Don't shoot the messenger, like I said. And so finally, since we've named all these things, and since we've kind of covered all these different areas where our community, once again, in scare quotes, our community, is failing, what can we do to try to rectify these things and improve and be better? Because what is the point of listing all these downsides if we're not going to try to improve and be better? And so, oddly enough, another statistic where we lead in is that Black people lead in religiosity in America. We are the number one community of people, well, race that is, that subscribes to religion. And some people will say, well, that's part of your problem. But that's nonsense, okay? The issue, I would say, in reality, is that we don't really commit ourselves to the religion that we claim. Because most Black people would consider themselves religious. And of those Black people that would consider themselves religious, most of them would consider themselves Christians. And can anyone name me a great Black soul winner, some great Black pastor who has really done wonderful things for Christ and has not just sucked out the money of the community? Someone like Creflo Dollar, someone like TD Jakes, these people who, once again, they think like, oh, we're looking out for you. We're trying to give you the gospel. We're trying to give you Christ and get you closer to God. And they're just taking our money and riding off into the literal sunset in their private jets. So no, friend, the issue is not that, Black people are religious. The issue is that we're not actually, really living out the faith that we claim to have. I just saw a post on Twitter the other day that was, I think it was maybe Angel Reese or something, some WNBA player. She had signed a deal with Playboy, and she literally said, "Thank God," in her caption of the post. And people were calling her out, like, how are you gonna thank God for getting signed on with Playboy? How does that make any sense? And of course, it doesn't. Okay, it's an oxymoron. But people, they just say things that they're used to. People just, go with whatever, they think makes sense. And in reality, they're living lives that are contradictory. And so, like I said earlier, I won someone to Christ today. I won my first soul of 2025. And so I really tried to live out my faith and be the change that I want to see and live a good example, because, that's all that we can do. So we look at these things and we see these issues in our group. And it's one thing that we can all talk about it, but if we're not actually moving forward and we're trying to be better, so, I'm trying to make sure that, my child doesn't have a single parent household, and that's all I can do. I can't change anybody else's household, sadly. I can make sure that my marriage stays together. I can make sure that I'm educated. I can make sure that I know how to read. Okay, there's that. And I can make sure that I'm living out the religious life that I think that people should. Another perfect example, thank you, Lionel, Kanye West, a guy who, has made Christian albums and, has claimed to be such a man of God, yet literally had his wife parading around naked the other day at the Grammys. So this cognitive dissonance that's being portrayed in the public square, it makes us look bad. It makes us look, once again, ignorant. So thank you for that example. So yes, friends. So we're kicking off Black History Month to a good start. We're getting off to a great start. It feels good to be back. It feels, I'm so glad that you guys were here, popping in on me. Doing pretty good numbers this stream. So hopefully we can continue that the Black History Month streams, they usually do better. Something about people just love to, to just come on and hear what I have to say about my Black community. But so I digress. My plan is to be back next Friday. And I'm gonna see if I can start doing the Every Word Wednesdays again. That is my plan, to get back onto my regular schedule that I had before. But like I said, we'll see how things go and how MJ will tolerate that. But yes, friends. And so, yeah, just trying to get back to my old schedule, trying to keep things going, and just get reacclimated. So I can't do it. I can't just, make it happen. I just have to kind of force it and be like, okay, well, we're just gonna do it live, and whatever happens, happens. I appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. Be sure to leave a like and a comment on your way out, and share the stream. Lionel said that he was going to share the stream, so hopefully you guys can share the stream as well, and let people know. People are ignorant of these facts, and so we need to spread the word and to encourage other people to be the change that they want to see. Hey, there we go. Shout out to our new sub, our new Jeanette. All right, you guys. You guys have a great rest of your evening, and I will talk to you again real soon.